Take care. And according to Jesus, the one true God is the Father. Now, one of you is not right. I want to know whether it is you or Jesus. Who's not right? Who's got the wrong idea about the one true God? A Trinitarian or someone who believes in a unipersonal God like Jesus Christ?
So when Jesus said, for example, when Jesus said,
John 17:3,
when Jesus said before Abraham was, I am, and the Jews picked up stones, right? When Jesus said, for example, to that man that was on the ground, get up, right? And they said to him, no, your sins are forgiven. Jesus said, they said to him, what are you doing? Only God can forgive sins, right? Jesus' response was, listen, is it easier for me to say, get up, or is it easier for me to say, your sins are forgiven, right? Because they're understood that only Jesus, only the one true God, as you want to call it, can forgive sins.
What's about the hour, Father?
When in the book of Revelations, when Jesus said, I am the beginning and the end, right?
Alpha and Omega.
Alpha and Omega. In Exodus, when God, might not be Exodus, but when God was speaking to Moses, right? And he said,
He's not allowed to use that, the megaphone.
And he was trying to say, who am I? Who am I? Who should I say that I am? Right?
But you're not answering the question I'm asking you. I'm asking you, should I believe you or Jesus? Because one of you is not telling the truth.
I'm trying to explain to you where we get the idea that Jesus is divine.
But that wasn't my question. I didn't ask you if Jesus was a God. I asked you if Jesus is...
I never said Jesus was a God.
Okay.
But I'm trying to say to you...
So you're saying he's divine?
No, I'm saying Jesus is not the Father. That's what I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah, I didn't say he was the Father. But what I'm telling you is what Jesus is referring to as the one true God is the Father. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with Jesus' statement in John 17:3? Or not?
I think Jesus is making a point.
What?
So people can understand who he's talking to. But with taking one scripture, as I've given you many...
I can give you lots more, no problem.
But if you're disagreeing with my scripture, for example, when Jehovah says, I will not share my glory or my name with another. So when Jesus is saying, for example, he's using the same title in Matthew, I am, when he's using the same title and they're ready to kill him, I'm saying to you that a normal human, whatever you want to call him, can't use that title.
What title?
The I am title.
The I am title. Paul uses it. Are you aware of that? In the Bible. In the Bible, Paul uses it.
And says what of himself? What
does I am mean?
Okay.
What does it?
Did they say that they were going to stone Paul because he used the I am title?
No. The thing is, stoning Jesus, for example, one in John 10:30. Yes, when he says I am the Father of one. Yes, the Jews, they basically did the same thing. They started to stone him, and Jesus then asked them, for what good works have I that I've done that you're stoning me? And they respond, it is not for the good works, but you being a mere man are claiming to be God. So you see, just like you, the Jews also misunderstood Jesus, that he is claiming to be God. But now listen to the response. Wait. Listen to the response Jesus gives them. What is the response?
When he goes about you also being called God.
Exactly.
But
wait. But what does he say after that? So he basically tells them that I'm not the one blaspheming. Yes? God himself calls you, means the Jewish people, the elders, in Psalms 82:6. It says, ye are gods, the sons of the Most High. So you see, God himself calls them gods. And then Jesus, wait, the last bit. No, you correct me later on, but let me finish the statement. And then Jesus at the end says, all I said is, I am God's son. Yes? He did not say, I am God, anywhere in the Bible. In Psalms 82:6, in many other places, like Elohim. Who's called Elohim? Moses is called Elohim to the Pharaoh. Exodus 7:1. Yes? So there are many people who are called gods.
I mean, Satan is called the God of this world, but that's not what we're talking about. The Bible also calls Satan a God of the world, but that's not what I'm trying to say to you.
What are you saying to me?
Because I'm saying that calling someone a God, right, does not mean that they're divine. Yeah.
Exactly my point.
So I'm not talking about words. I'm talking about actions. So there's a difference.
What actions?
I'm talking about what Jesus done. No, what Jesus done.
What did he do that shows he's divine?
Told who he was.
Okay. What is it that Jesus did that showed that he is divine?
One of them, he rose himself from the dead.
Did he rise himself or did the Father rise him?
Depends what scripture you go into. Depends what scripture you go into.
Which scripture do you
Because he
follow?
said, I will lay down my life,
Yeah.
and I will take it back up. That's what Jesus said.
Okay, so he committed suicide.
He didn't commit suicide.
What do you call a person who lays down his own life?
He didn't commit suicide.
Well, I'm asking you, what do you call a person? Look, I know you're in denial, but I'm asking you a simple question. I'm asking you.
If you're going to say that Jesus committed suicide, right? He didn't commit suicide. Suicide is when you walk on maybe in front of that bus and you kill yourself.
Yeah, by himself,
suicide.
right?
That's suicide.
So if
right?
somebody,
wait, that's not suicide.
if somebody kills themselves, is that considered
He killed
suicide?
himself.
You just said I laid down my life.
Okay, so
What does that mean?
So that means you don't understand.
Okay, let me ask you a question to clarify this.
Did
Jesus kill himself or did someone else kill him?
Because I'm saying
Bro, it's a one-to-one discussion if you don't mind.
If Jesus killed himself, according to what you're saying, then everything else that came before in the Bible you're negating.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Who killed
Was Jesus exactly?
Okay, so wait.
So was he killed or did he kill himself? Which one is it?
You're being using.
I'm asking a simple question.
Same Islamic
I
question.
have to be simple in order for us
because the thing is
to make sure that we understand and we are on the same page.
that's being childish. Because
Why is it childish?
childish.
Why is it childish? To get clarification.
Because you're taking one little word, right?
Which word?
And you're missing the bigger picture. So when he says he lays down his life,
Yeah.
right? I never said that he laid down his life and a cart rolled over his head and he killed himself.
I never
right?
said that either.
That's not what I'm saying.
Neither did I
Okay, so
insinuate
do
that.
you understand what he means when he says he lays down his life? Are you taking it as in he takes a knife and he stabs himself?
No, that's not what I said.
That's not.
I asked you a very precise question.
So wait. So what?
Maybe if you answer that, it'll be clear.
So to answer your question,
Yeah.
we have to be sure of the question you're asking me. Now, if you're asking me simply, did Jesus take his own life, as in a suicide?
Yes. What is the answer to that?
Right? I'm saying no, he didn't.
Good.
Right.
So who killed him then?
Right.
So who killed him?
So that question, that response that he's given, has a bigger meaning. We both agree.
So answer the question. Who killed
Would
him?
you agree that that statement has a bigger meaning than what he's saying to the people?
Once you answer this question, they'll be more clear.
Okay.
Who killed Jesus?
Okay, who killed Jesus? He was killed by the Romans by crucifixion.
So in other words, his own creation. Do you agree?
His own creation. Yes, his own creation.
So his own creation, God's own creation killed God. Does that rationally make sense to you?
Wait. See, what you've done there
What?
is you're saying something I never said. You're just building a straw man and breaking it down.
No, I'm not.
No.
Did you not say he created everything?
Wait. You're saying God's creation killed God.
Yes.
That's not what I'm saying. Now, if you want to break it down further, I'm not. His flesh died, right?
Oh, so now you're going to the flesh.
Wait. Because without going to the flesh, the question makes no sense. So, his flesh died, was crucified, right? Would you agree with that?
Can I respond? Okay,
Yeah.
good. First and foremost, you need to understand this. If Jesus died, whether in flesh or... Let me finish. Look. You asked me a question, give me a chance to answer.
Because
But if you keep interrupting,
you know why? Sorry.
then we won't get anywhere.
You know why? Because the questions that you're asking...
No, you asked me the question, I'm answering now.
No, but you're responding with another question.
Yeah, it's a cross.
I know, but you're not
It's a cross
answering my
question.
You're asking me another question. So I'm saying to you...
No, I will answer your question.
If you're putting it in other words, then
I'm not putting it. That's the reason I asked you the question.
Okay.
Earlier you said he laid down his life. When I
what I said.
clarified to you who killed... Look, you're doing it again. Let me finish.
Because what I'm trying to say to you is...
If I make a mistake, you correct me.
No, but
Simple
the
as
thing is,
that.
Because I don't want to waste time, so I'm saying to you...
We are not wasting
if you
time
don't
here.
get what I'm saying by he laid down his life,
Yeah.
if you're seeing it as in one angle and you're not getting what I'm saying, then everything else that precedes is pointless.
And that's the reason I'm asking for
So
clarification.
when I said to you he laid down his life,
Yeah.
we both agreed that I said he was not, he did not kill himself. He didn't kill himself, right?
Good. So,
Right.
so then you're using the wrong wording, laid down his life.
No, because that's what the Bible
Look, you're
says,
doing it
right?
again. Let me have a word in between. I'll let you talk. It's very
Go on,
simple.
go on.
Because if you don't listen to each other, then we won't understand.
Go on.
If laying down life means, it does not mean suicide, then you're using the wrong wording. Shall I tell you why? It's either he was killed or he laid down his life. First and foremost, if Jesus is he's the one responsible for both life and death. Yes? It is not the Romans who killed him then. If he is the ultimate entity who's responsible for both life and death, then you should accept and acknowledge that it is ultimately Jesus who killed himself. Okay, hear me out. If I'm making a mistake, you're more than welcome.
I'm going to wait till you finish. I don't want to interrupt you.
Good. So either you tell me that it was the Romans who killed Jesus, and he died, or it was Jesus, it was the action of the Romans which killed Jesus, but ultimately it was Jesus who was responsible for that death. You can't have it both ways. Either the Romans killed him, or Jesus himself was responsible for his death. Now you can proceed, please.
Alright, so you made a couple of points there. So this is why I wanted to kind of stop you, because I might forget everything that you said. But your question was...
It's only one point, my friend.
No, because
only one point.
You listed a couple of things I want to talk about. So you're saying, ultimately what you're trying to say is that because God is in control of everything, ultimately all the circumstances that led up to his death was ultimately by him.
That's a question, yes.
Yeah, that's the point you're trying to make,
yes.
right?
That's a question I asked you.
Okay, that was the question you're asking
yes.
me. But that's not what the Bible is saying. That's a completely different question and a supposition that you're trying to make, which I never made. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is that...
But do you agree or disagree with that?
Wait, because that's a completely different topic again.
No, it's the same topic, bro.
Because if you want to say that, right? Yeah. Then ultimately, everything that you're saying, every single action was caused by God, right? And if you're going to go to that level, then everything that me and you're saying, everything that we're doing, you can't answer anything because ultimately it was God. So if you want to take...
We're talking only about crucifixion.
Let me finish. No, crucifixion.
In this topic.
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. Would you agree with me that what you're saying, everything is caused ultimately by God?
You want me to answer to that?
Whether it's a Christian God or whether it's Allah, everything.
I can answer to that if you want.
Go on.
Okay, so Allah, God, if you want to call him, predestined everything. Right. So even though a leaf falling from the tree, it's been predestined. Right. The day you and I will die, it's been predestined. Okay? So ultimately it is God's decision what happens when. Now, with regards to the people who have free will, so for example, if they commit, look, you asked me a question, allow me to answer.
You know why? Because you're contradicting yourself.
What? You didn't even let me finish.
Because the point is,
because you asked me a question, let me finish. Let me finish. If you cut me off, you won't get an answer. Okay.
John 17.
Ultimately, it is God who has predestined everything. Right. But in terms of liability, for example, evil deeds, evil deeds or good deeds or whatever it is, it comes down to the individual. The individual is accountable for that. Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Okay, so that is my answer.
The individuals, what individual?
Everyone who's been given free will, they are responsible for their deeds. By the good outcome.
You're saying to me that ultimately everything comes from God. Everything is the will of God. Even that tree, me and you talking right now is the will of God. Your hat that you're wearing is the will of God. This cameraman is the will of God. Everything is orchestrated by God. You have no free will.
See, you are not listening.
You have no free will.
That means you are not listening.
You have no free will. Because now what you're trying to say...
Because he's interrupting, you are not listening. I said everything is predestined by God.
Predestined by
God,
right?
Do you not agree with that?
No, wait. Everything can't be predestined and then man has free will.
No, there's a difference. No, it's not. You don't understand the meaning of predestination then.
Explain it to me then.
Okay, predestination. Do you believe in that concept?
You explain to me.
No, I will explain. But before I explain that to you, I want to know whether you believe in the
just explain to me what predestination
I will,
means.
but I want to know if you believe in the concept of predestination.
I don't need to believe in the concept. Explain to me.
So you don't believe in it?
Explain to me.
I don't know what kind of Christian you are.
No, explain to me what predestination is.
Predestination is God has foreknowledge about everything. Okay. Do you agree with that?
Carry on.
No, but we can't carry on unless you agree or disagree. Okay. Predestination is where God has preordained, he has foreknowledge of everything. So, for example, like I told you about the trees when they shed the leaves. Okay. These things. Well, if you want an answer.
Wait. You said.
Yeah.
Right. God makes the leaf fall from the ground. That's not predestination.
No, God knows about the tree.
Not what you said.
You were not listening. That's why you were listening to the other chap who was here, who was disturbing you.
I wasn't listening to the other chap.
Go and look at the cameras at home when you go home.
For God to know something,
yes,
for men to do something, is two different things. So I agree with you that God knows all. Good. God can see the future. Yes. But that's not what we're talking about. That's just God having foreknowledge of the future, right? So God can know that a leaf is going to fall. But you're saying that God made the leaf fall. That's what you said.
Did God not create the condition for the leaves to fall?
That's a completely different
It's the same thing, because you seem to you're using. Okay, let me ask you this: for Jesus to die on the cross, because that's how it started, isn't it?
So we agree that what you're saying about predestination.
No, I don't disagree with that.
It's wrong.
It's like, for example, you didn't let me finish. You cut me off again. No, I'm not finished.
Okay, go on.
For example, if you are a teacher and you know your students, you have been teaching them for a whole year, you can tell which students are going to pass and which students are going to fail based on the hard work that they put in or not.
It's a strong possibility, but you can't tell 100%.
If you let me finish, you keep. I don't know why you keep interrupting.
Okay, go on.
Let me finish and then you correct me. I gave you a chance earlier as well. Okay. If you as a teacher can tell who's going to pass and who's going to fail, obviously you're not 100% like God, but you have a rough idea as to who's going to pass and who's going to fail. And many times you're like 99 to 95% right. You might get it wrong sometimes, but most of the time, based on your experience with your students, you can pinpoint which students are going to fail or which are going to pass. Now, God obviously is much better than the human being, and He can tell 100% as to which of you are going to do good in their life and follow God's path, and which of you are not. Yes, because He has foreknowledge of those things. Not only that, He has seen. Yes, like you mentioned, before Abraham was I am. That is talking about the foreknowledge, and Abraham rejoiced. Remember in the Bible? Rejoiced about what? About his days to come. So even Abraham was given, who's not God, given the foreknowledge of Jesus is coming, hence he rejoiced. You see what I mean? Same thing in John 17:3 when He says, you the only true God, and later on He says about His glory which was with Him, yes, since the beginning. Again, this is talking about the glory that was predestined with God. And if you remember, you said God doesn't share His glory. Yes, guess what? Jesus does share His glory with His disciples. So Jesus is not the one true God. Jesus calls His Father one true God.
Another topic now. So
no, it's all related. Okay, that's how it started.
Okay. My point was, your point was predestination, right? And then you said free will. And I'm saying to you, and according to what you're saying, if Allah or God, whoever you want to call it, what you said predestination was He causes everything. So ultimately, God caused His own death. Jesus caused His own death.
You're not listening again.
That's what you said.
I said pre-knowledge of everything, foreknowledge of everything. Okay. I didn't say, oh, God makes you do your evil. I didn't say that. No, but you're misrepresenting
this
me.
I didn't want to interrupt you. It's on the camera, whatever you said.
Yes.
So the guys can
I'm sure they will pick it up. So I use the word foreknowledge.
Okay. So,
not God causes you to do that.
Okay. So when you said in the beginning that ultimately Jesus being God, because I said Jesus was God, ultimately Jesus being God killed Himself, right? That's ultimately what you said.
Carry on, I won't interrupt you. Carry
on. Is that yes or no before I move on? That's what you said.
What, Jesus killed Himself?
Yeah, ultimately because He's God. He ordained everything. Ultimately, that's what you said.
Here's my response.
Did you say that in the beginning, yes or no?
Well, you're asking me a question. Allow me to answer. Not everything is yes and no.
No.
Okay?
Me just had a conversation. Did you say that or not?
Say what? That Jesus killed Himself?
Ultimately.
Yeah, when you use the phrase that you use, Jesus laid down his life. Yes, I did say that.
And then the point that you made was because Jesus was God, you're taking what I said, which wasn't what I said. You said because Jesus is God, He ultimately killed Himself because He controls everything. Just like Allah.
Those weren't my words.
Okay, that's fine. The cameras would have your words.
Yes, of course they will.
Because God and the leaf, Allah controls the leaf dropping down. That's what you said, right? Then you went on to say that men have free will within that, right? Now, I'm saying to you that if Allah controls everything, ultimately there's no free will.
You know, this is the third time I explained to you, you still got it wrong.
Right, okay.
Maybe you should go home and look at the videos. Yeah, maybe he'll clarify it for you.
As it is without editing it, then we'll see what it says.
Yeah, sure. Shall we go back to the topic we were talking?
Your point about predestination,
I've answered you 3 times already.
It's wrong.
If you didn't get it, let's move on. Let's agree to disagree there and move on with regards to John. Go back to John 17:3, which you still haven't responded.
My point was this.
Who is the one true God?
My point was this,
Yeah.
If Jesus laid down His life, as He said He was gonna, and He's gonna pick His life back up, He said He'll lay down a life and I will take it back up, right? I said to you, right, that no mere man can lay down his life and take his life back up. That's my point I was trying to make to you.
Can I respond
you went
to that?
off on a tangent and you said that ultimately Jesus, either He committed suicide, which I never said, or you're saying that ultimately God, being Jesus, killed Himself because ultimately God controls everything, which is not what I said. Now back to my point, which was that when Jesus didn't commit suicide, He didn't kill Himself. I'm saying
His creation killed Him, which you agreed to.
You said.
No, you agreed to that.
I never agreed to that.
Did He not say the Romans killed Him?
I never agreed to that.
Okay, it's on camera.
It's on camera, that's fine.
And He knows it.
Fine. And then that's when you went into...
So who killed Him then?
Let me finish. Then that's when you went into that his creation killed him, which is what you said, right?
And do you disagree with that?
Let me finish.
Okay.
You said his creation killed him,
Yes,
right?
I did, yes.
Because ultimately he created them. Then you made the point that...
No, that wasn't the reason I said.
Then you made the point that because I said Jesus created everything, right?
Yeah.
So then I said, you said that Jesus, ultimately his creation that he made, killed God. That's what you said, right?
Do you disagree with that?
And I disagree with that.
Why?
Right? Because
Why do you disagree with that?
I'm saying to you
What?
that if you look at it like that, then that means there's no free will. Then you went on and you said that Allah caused the leaf to drop from the ground.
I'm asking you, not what I said.
Let me finish.
I'm asking you, why do you disagree with it?
The reason why I disagree with what you said, and it's not what I
That
said.
Jesus' creation killed him. Why do you disagree with that?
The reason why I say that...
No, why do you disagree with that?
Because that's not what you said originally. Originally you said that...
You just said I said it.
Let me finish.
And now you're saying I didn't say it.
Originally what you said was God's creation ultimately killed God. So ultimately what you said was God killed himself.
No,
That's
I said
what you
his creation killed him.
No, because you're trying to make the point that God committed suicide by his own creation.
Can you,
That's what you're saying.
can you pause for a minute?
Basically, wait. It's basically what you're trying to say. God took a gun, which was the creation, put it to his head and pulled the trigger by his creation.
There were no guns back then.
Ultimately you said God killed himself. Now I'm saying to you, if you want to look at it like that, maybe you can, right? But it was the actions and the free will of men that ultimately pulled the trigger.
So who killed him?
Who killed it?
Who killed him?
I said to you, he was killed by the Romans. That's what I said to you.
Were the Romans God's creation?
Yes.
Were the Romans Jesus' creation?
Yes.
So Jesus' creation killed him.
All right. Fine.
My point.
That's fine.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah, that's fine.
You finally got it.
Then you went into predestination, something
Yeah,
else.
I know because you asked me
So
about
your
that.
terminology was wrong.
But you agree with me that his creation killed him.
In the grand scheme of things,
Yes.
his creation killed him.
Good. We're in agreement. Okay, now we are going to the... So we have done with the crucifixion. Now we are going to resurrection.
Because Jesus said...
Wait a minute.
Wait, there's two parts to the point.
You're asking me a question.
Wait. I want to clarify my point.
Good, go on.
The point was, I laid down my life. You said his creation killed him. Fine. And he said, I will raise it back up. Right? He said that. So that's fine. I just want to clarify that.
So let me ask you this. When Jesus was crucified, was he dead?
His flesh was dead.
What do you mean his flesh was dead?
His flesh was dead.
Was the person... Listen to this question. Was the second person of Trinity dead?
His flesh was dead.
That wasn't my question. Was the second...
Because your question is loaded.
Okay, here's my question.
I'm not asking.
No, it's not loaded. No, it's very much...
Okay, let me
the
break
reason
it
you're evading it is because you know it doesn't agree
Let me answer
with...
for you biblically.
Biblically?
In the beginning
Yes.
was the Word, and the Word became flesh. Separate the two. The Word became flesh. Separate Mary and the Holy Spirit. Separate in the beginning and the incarnation. Two separate things. Jesus was not born at that moment in time. Separate before Abraham was, I am. Right? So Jesus, Spirit in heaven, came down because we know God is Spirit. Right? That's what the Bible says. God is Spirit. Right? That Spirit that was in heaven came into flesh. Right? That's what the Bible teaches. I'm telling you that his flesh was killed and crucified. That flesh part took on the sin. Ultimately, he became sin for us, and that's what died, his flesh.
So on the cross...
Let me finish. So on the cross, when Jesus said, into my hands I commit your spirit, his flesh died, and his spirit went back to where it was in the beginning. Okay. That's my point.
How do you define death?
Death, right? Your heart stops beating. I'm not a qualified doctor.
Neither am I.
According to me, right? Pulse is gone. Maybe for a good few hours. I don't know, right?
Okay.
Right, I'm not a doctor.
Let me define it, and you tell me if you agree or disagree with it.
Dead and he starts stinking. You're dead.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
I'll define what death is according to my understanding. You tell me if you disagree or agree with that.
Yeah.
To me, death is separation of the soul from the flesh, from the body.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Did that happen to Jesus?
Did that happen to Jesus?
Yes.
Separation of soul
from the body.
Yes. His body went to the grave. Right?
I'm not asking you very friend. Did it happen to Jesus?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hence, the second person of the Trinity. Did this happen to the second person of the Trinity?
Because what you're what you're confusing is flesh from the spirit.
No, I'm not. I told you the soul separated.
Because the flesh,
yes,
the flesh, right, is something that was given to him. Right?
By whom?
The flesh is when so when he came into Mary, that flesh at that point was his. In heaven, he never had flesh.
But you're still not answering my question.
Listen to me, let me explain to you.
You already explained like second time. I understood.
Let me explain to you.
I understood what flesh and soul are two different things. I know that.
Okay, all right. So,
but one separated from the other during the death. Do you disagree with that?
So when the flesh,
yes, separated from the body.
When the flesh is separated.
Sorry, it's from the soul.
When the flesh is separated, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying to you that flesh that came ultimately from human conception, from Mary, from the womb, that flesh which was created, right? I'm saying to you that flesh is ultimately what died, right? That's how you know a man is dead. How else do you know a man is dead?
Okay.
Forget.
Once again, you have not answered the question.
Okay. Because you're asking a question.
No, you talked a lot. Let me allow me a chance. Come on.
You're trying to build a straw man.
No, I'm not building a straw man.
Okay.
Earlier you mentioned the Trinity. Earlier you mentioned the Trinity. To me, to my understanding, hear me out. The Trinity is the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So from these three, who died on the cross?
I'm saying to you.
Are you going to answer the question? Don't go into the flesh mode again.
If you're asking,
just answer from these three who died.
See, you're asking a question without understanding the implications of what you're saying. So if you're asking me a basic question, right, as in, did the Son die?
No, did the second person of Trinity die?
Let me ask you a question.
No, don't ask the question.
The second person of the Trinity died, right?
Did he die?
You need to explain and understand what you mean by the second person.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. You can catch the rest on SC Dawa a little bit later on today. It is being recorded, inshallah. We need a backup camera for other talks that are going on. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.